Hey everybody, this is Doa, and today we're going to watch a PvT on Steps of War. It's going to be EGIncontrol spawning as our red Protoss player here against NrGdde spawning as our blue Terran. And this game was actually part of a match between the two teams, between NrG and Evil Geniuses for the StarCraft League. And it was originally streamed too, so I've put a link to the original VOD in the description as well. I like to give credit to the original VODs if it was streamed before, I got the replay. But I thought it was such a cool game that I wanted to cast it for you as well. I was told about this game by DDE, and I didn't catch the original one, so I had him send me over the replay. And it is quite an awesome game. I think you will be pretty pleased with it, as I was as well. And Incontrol sending out his first probe to do a little bit of harassment, a little bit of scouting as well. And in the meantime, we have DDE putting up his supply depot. I actually like this supply depot placement for DDE. This is something that I actually just mentioned on my most recent Breaking the Caster Curse video, is that I wanted to work a little bit more on my building placement. If you'll notice, this supply depot is put in a place where if DDE did end up getting something like, proxy gated, he could raise the supply depot, and it's just kind of one more way to funnel the zealots around and kind of keep his mineral line a little bit more defensible. So I don't know if that was actually his impression or his intent rather for putting it there, but I will pretend it is and show how good that is if it was. So in the meantime, Incontrol doing a little bit more harassing with that probe. DDE immediately putting SCV off the line to take care of that, getting his gas as well. So DDE with a very standard opening. Let's take a look back at the base of Incontrol. He is getting his gas and the gateway at the normal time. So nothing really out of the ordinary for this yet. TvP is by far my favorite matchup. I think the Terran has to really struggle a lot of times in the early game to fight off some of those really powerful early game Protoss units, and I love seeing how Terrans can get along with that. Looks like the Surgeon wants to practice a little bit. He is another caster, of course, for the Rush Network, but I'm going to put it on busy for now because I am casting that game. Sorry, Surgeon, you at least got a shout out in the VOD here. We'll practice a little bit later. Surgeon, of course, about I think like a 2500 master rank Terran, so you can imagine how most of those games go. Anyway, DDE putting up his second supply depot as well. He does have his gas and barracks running. I'm going to get rid of my friends list there. And let's go back to the base of Incontrol, getting his cybernetics core as well, and getting a second gas, so we can imagine a little bit more of a tech-heavy build coming from Incontrol. And that could be a lot of things. It could be something like Stargates. We could see some Void Rays as well. Phoenixes are not terribly popular in PvT right now, but I think, with the build time going down, we're going to see more Protoss players at least trying it anyway. In the meantime, we do see DDE getting his factory and a second gas himself. So both players going for more of a tech-heavy opening, not really trying to put a lot of pressure on each other just yet. DDE getting his first bunker as well. Well, first bunker, you really never know how many bunkers you're going to have in a game. But DDE anyway getting that bunker. I'm always a little bit nervous to put this supply depot here at the top of my ramp, as it's so easy for Stalkers to pick that off a little bit later in the game. We do see a Zealot and a Stalker coming out for Incontrol, and this is a really good opening force to kind of push a little bit into your opponent with. Doesn't look like he's planning on doing that quite this game, and it actually looks like he's getting a Robo Bay. So a very, very quick Robo for Incontrol, and no wonder he got those units out. He did not want that SCV to see it. Let's see if I can hit the right button to see if DDE has seen it. Well, I hit the right button, but it went back to his base. But yeah, it looks like DDE did not see that Robo. So a little bit of a hidden tech advantage for Incontrol at this point. Let's go back to the base of DDE. He kind of is suspecting something. He does have that bunker as well to stay safe. Not a bad idea to put a bunker up at your ramp to stay safe in that early game if you are going to be doing a little bit more tech-heavy build. Looks like DDE is probably going to go for Banshees, maybe a Raven first. We'll have to see what he builds out of this. And it is actually going to be a Raven first, a very common opening versus Protoss, as that point defense drone is very useful for neutralizing those Stalkers for a short time in some early engagements. Not a bad idea there at all. We do see Incontrol bringing out a Immortal right now, as well as getting another gateway. Neither player really looking at expanding at this point, but I'm kind of going back to what I was saying a little bit earlier. Actually, check that for a second. DDE poking out with a Hellion, but having to pull it back right away as Stalkers do take out Hellions very, very quickly. And Incontrol setting up a little bit of a soft contain against his opponent here. He did put down that forward pylon, which will allow him to warp in a few more units, but I think DDE would probably be able to push out fairly soon. He is bringing a couple SCVs up to repair that bunker in case Incontrol does decide to push out. DDE sending a couple SCVs to do a little bit of scouting, building another supply depot. That Hellion is out, kind of seeing what Incontrol has, and he's actually going to run right past her, try to, but I think, ooh, the Immortal almost getting the Hellion, but not quite able to pick it off. And so Incontrol looks like he's going to want to push here, and here he comes up the ramp, putting the Zealots first. Nice job there. The Zealots will go to work on the bunker, but as soon as he sees the amount of Marines, and of course SCVs repairing, he's going to want to pull back. No reason to waste all those units so early in the game. We do have some more Stalkers coming out for Incontrol, as well as getting a few more Immortals. Looks like he was making one, but he did cancel it there. Let's see what he's planning on doing with that. He is going to use that resources, or those resources rather, to get a robotics bay. This pylon's still lurking outside of DDE's base. And DDE looking at expanding. So yeah, I think the TvP matchup is going to be doing some changes in the next couple weeks. I'm basing this largely off of my own experience on the ladder, just with the power of early game Marauder pushes if done correctly. And there's also a little bit of a addition to that I'm putting into some of my games right now, and you might see that in the future, breaking the caster curse. You might not, but I'll kind of leave that a secret for now. It's not just regular Marauder pressure. DDE doing some pressure himself on the pylon of Incontrol at the natural. And the other thing too is, if you watch the Jinro versus MC games, Jinro really made that mech work, and I'd love to see the return of Terran mech in a TvP, and I think Jinro really showed us that it is definitely viable. Wow, DDE actually taking out that pylon. A little bit of a loss for Incontrol there. Not quite supply block though. Nice job with Incontrol keeping up on the supply there. And DDE is going to actually be able to be very annoying with this Banshee hanging out outside the natural. Incontrol probably will need to bring in a few more Stalkers. Moving some Stalkers actually back to the back of his base to do a little protection, as well as DDE would obviously be tempted to move back here and try to pick off some of these probes. Now if we go back to the base of DDE, we do see another barracks being added. 2 more barracks actually, as well as a factory. He is getting that siege mode as well, turning his command center into an orbital command before he moves it to his natural. And Incontrol now securing his natural as well, so he's going to get that up slightly ahead, but keep in mind this Banshee still lurking again outside of the base of Incontrol, outside the natural. And here it comes. It's going to pick off a couple probes. Is he going to get more than one? No, actually he's not even going to get one. That Banshee on hold position, not a bad job. Doesn't want to have it accidentally go over those Stalkers here. And he will pull it back too, just to make sure that stays safe. No reason again to lose those units in the early game. Every unit counts in StarCraft 2, especially in the early game. DDE transferring some SCVs down to start doing some mining there. Moving out with those tanks, so it kind of makes you think, oh, is he going all in? But no, just doing some drone transfers, or SCV transfers, as he is a Terran player. Putting up some bunkers as well to make sure he stays nice and safe. Observer giving chase to these Banshees of DDE, and he is going to try to swing around and do some damage to the base of Incontrol. Let's see what Incontrol has to defend. Only one Stalker right now, but he may warp some more in. Excuse me. That throat thing still continues for me, which is a lot of fun, let me tell you. We also see DDE researching Stim back at his base. There it is. Stim being researched, and DDE again able to put quite a bit of pressure on the natural of Incontrol, not really letting him get a lot of mining done. And oh, I really like this play by DDE here, sending up an SCV to keep these Banshees repaired. That's going to let him just poke in, do some damage, and then move away. And if you look at the positioning on Steps of War, it's going to be very difficult for Incontrol to move his units all the way around here to get to where he can take out those Banshees. That's not something that he can really afford to do at this point in the game, so all he can really do is kind of keep an eye on it and hope he can defend when DDE decides to move in and try to do some damage. Let's take a look at the Army tab real quick here. Both players fairly even. DDE slightly ahead, 99 to 91, excuse me. And if we look at the income tab, 48 to 37 in favor of DDE. So right now DDE slightly ahead, but it's so early in the game, it's really hard to tell what's going on, as both players neither have really engaged each other. Colossus coming in just to kind of check out what's going on. DDE doing a little bit more damage there. Colossus there, mainly for intimidation purposes, I would imagine, as they are big and beefy but cannot hit air. Banshees again getting repaired by that SCV. So useful to put that SCV up on the cliff there. And it looks like Incontrol is thinking about moving out right now. What does DDE have to defend this? He is working on the rocks to work on taking that third. Looks like he is fairly well fortified, but the range is finished for this Colossus. Incontrol is going to move in. Is DDE going to lose that Raven? Almost getting that Raven taken out, but just barely getting away at 30 hit points. Lucky Raven there. Here comes the attack for Incontrol. He does walk into those siege tanks and decides to pull back right away. That Immortal actually getting sniped off. A little bit of a victory there for DDE, scanning just to get a little bit of extra range for that tank, I would imagine. And these Banshees still hanging out outside of the base of Incontrol, getting repaired yet again by that hero SCV. Incontrol needing to maintain a standing army of Stalkers just to defend against those 2 Banshees for DDE. And actually, it looks like Incontrol has had enough. He will be moving up. And why, when I select all those Stalkers and the Ursa Deck Calf, does it decide to follow the Ursa Deck Calf? But anyway, Immortal does, or Incontrol that is, does go after those Banshees and takes it out very, very easily. So the harassment is more or less done, but at the same time we have a drop coming in at the north from DDE. I think this is the remains of a little bit earlier of a drop that we may have missed. Not really doing a lot of damage though. Incontrol is fairly well prepared. As you can see, he didn't lose a lot of probes in general from that. And we do have another drop coming in from DDE as well. This time it's filled with Immortals. They may be able to cause a little bit more damage, and he's actually going to fly right over this third base of Incontrol as it is being built. Is he going to drop and do any damage to it? He really should, and there is the drop. Okay, so dropping those Marauders there, trying to force Incontrol to cancel. Is he going to be able to reinforce and try Incontrol moving in as quickly as he can? DDE might be able to take this base out. Incontrol needs to cancel. I don't know if he actually got that canceled or not. If he did, it was very, very close. But the medevac, unfortunately, does go down with all the Marauders in it, but they did prevent Incontrol from expanding. I think he did get the cancel on that, as he was floating about 600 minerals just there. And DDE already has a pretty decent amount of Vikings out to handle those Colossus. He's going to also use the Raven right there to help with that. Raven, of course, the one thing that Vikings need to worry about when they're going in to try to snipe Colossus off, of course, is the Stalker. So by throwing a Raven in the mix as well, you can throw down that point defense drone and give the Vikings some time to take out some of those Colossus. But DDE getting a little bit far ahead. One of those Vikings taking some damage, but there is an SCV building some bunkers. And actually now we see what DDE is planning. He's just going to do a very, very slow push with bunkers and tanks across the middle of the map. Augmenting that, of course, with some Marauders as well. I really like this kind of slow, methodical push against Protoss. That's not a bad idea. And actually, DDE almost catching one of those Colossus. Not quite. Will he get any? He does get one Colossus point defense drone, soaking up so much damage from those Stalkers, but DDE getting a little bit overeager, losing all but just 2 of those Vikings. Whoops, he did take out a few Colossus, but he did take some pretty good losses himself in the meantime. Back in DDE's new new base, I guess. He is bunker rushing, or bunker pushing rather, across the middle of the map. And this is really the strength that Terran's going to have, I think, in the future here, as we see these Immortals try to poke in, but really not able to do a whole lot. But as I was saying, I think this is really going to be the future of Terran play here, as Terrans really have the ability with bunkers and turrets and tanks to kind of reshape the map to their liking. I mean, that's kind of the real strength of Terran, is that you can take a map and change it dynamically, kind of on the fly, to be much more defensible. I mean, he can create corridors to kind of funnel units through. He can do a push like this and kind of create this impenetrable wall of defense. That there's really not a whole lot that the Protoss can do to break this, other than just macro up a huge force and try to smash through it. And just taking a look at what Incontrol has, he did add a couple more Phoenix on. That's something that we're seeing a lot more Protoss players do now, as the Protoss players, well, basically the Terran players are anticipating Colossus and building Vikings, and the Protoss are anticipating Vikings and building Phoenixes. Now, I've seen that a lot in some of my more recent games. DDE almost right up to the edge of the cliff, and here comes a little bit of scouting done by Incontrol there. Some Vikings will be there to take care of those Phoenixes. And again, let's take a look at the income tab. DDE now pretty significantly ahead, 177 over 144, slightly supply blocked there just for a second. He does siege up some tanks at the natural of Incontrol, and now DDE is really going to be able to put some pressure. I like this, using the barracks to do some floating, get some vision for the tanks. Did that as well. Excuse me, may need to move that barracks just a little bit farther ahead. There it is. In fact, it looks like he's going to actually land that. Lots of Vikings out for DDE as well. We do see a Dark Shrine on the way for Incontrol. I wonder if he's going to be able to make that work. DDE basically shutting down the natural of Incontrol. He does have this third base running, though. So Incontrol not in too bad a shape yet. DDE, of course, does have his third base going. It looks like Incontrol is actually going to take these rocks. He's going to try to take this base right here, which is something you almost never see happen with a Protoss. But DDE, with a great scan, sees exactly what's going on. He's going to move in with those Vikings. And Raven, where's the point defense drone? There it is, and that's going to actually allow DDE to pick off one of the Colossus, this time being a little bit less overeager and pulling back as soon as that first Colossus goes down. Nice snipe by DDE is going to send a few Marauders and Marines into the natural. And this Nexus still taking damage from these tanks. And right now, Incontrol basically boxed in. He's trying to find a way to make this army work. It is a very large and scary army, but attacking into something like this, he's going to have a very, very hard time making that work. DDE with so many Vikings as well. So Incontrol right now trying to find that angle. DDE actually expanding to this gold as well at this point. Getting his upgrades as well. He does have vehicle weapons level 1 and Terran infantry weapons level 2. Couple forces coming in here to take out this pylon, eliminating another point to warp units in. And here come a couple DTs into one of the bases of DDE. Going to do a lot of damage here as DDE really has nothing to defend it. He's going to move those SCVs away, and DDE actually maybe just thinking of sacrificing this. He doesn't really particularly need this base at this point in the game, I guess. If we look at the army tab, DDE is basically maxed out. Incontrol getting very, very close as well. And Incontrol looking like he may just be considering trying to push into this. What does DDE have to defend? Lots of bunkers, lots of Marauders, lots of tanks as well. Turrets are going to go to work on the Colossus. Nice siege tanks being lifted by Incontrol, but he's going to try to push in here. And there's so many tanks for DDE. All these Vikings coming in, taking out the Colossus very, very quickly. But Incontrol having so many Immortals, it looks like he does have about 8. Down to just 7 now, down to 6. And with the forces that DDE has, I don't know if Incontrol can break this, even with the many Immortals that he has. DDE landing his Vikings as well. And Incontrol, wow, that entire almost max army for Incontrol just melting. And there's the GG. So wow, DDE with a very stable, slow push across the middle of the map, basically just reshaping the map to his preferences and able to take a win off Incontrol in this EG versus NrG clan event. I believe NrG went on to win that event 4-2, and this was one of the many great games from that. Again, you know, if you want to check out the other VODs from this event that I did not cast, but they were cool, I watched part of the stream, it was awesome. I've got the link in the description on the video, so definitely check that out. Hope you guys enjoyed this replay. Of course, if you do, definitely subscribe. Other than that, keep playing StarCraft 2, and I'll see you guys on the next cast.